This is Teresa from My Crochet Obsession, and today I'm going to show you how I crochet the 6-petal Pico flower, and it's a 2-for-1. I'm going to show you how to go from this to this in only a few small stitches. Let's get started. I'm using a worsted 4-weight yarn and a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook today, but any size yarn and with the appropriate hook would be fine for this flower. Grab 3 colors of yarn and let's crochet. Choose the color of yarn that you'd like to have for your flower center. Using your preferred method, form a ring. Chain 2, which counts as a double crochet, followed by 11 double crochet into the ring. It's important for this 6-petal flower to have 12 total stitches in the flower center. After you're certain you have 12 stitches, pull your slip ring completely closed and slip stitch into that first chain up, which counts as the double crochet. Chain 1, pull up a loop and clip your yarn. Now we're going to make a color change for the petals. Grab the yarn that you've chosen for your flower petals. The first process that we do before we actually build the petals is we build a base round to attach the petals to. With a slip knot on your hook, insert your hook into the 2 back loops of your flower's center. Pull up a loop and single crochet. Chain 2, skip a stitch, and single crochet into the next 2 back loops. And that is your pattern repeat. Single crochet, chain 2, skip a stitch, and single crochet in the back loops of the next stitch, all the way around the flower center, and slip stitch to join into the first single crochet where you attached your new yarn. And this is how your work looks after you get your petal base on. You should have 6 chain spaces around the center of the flower. Now slip stitch into that first chain space. Chain 3 and yarn over twice and treble crochet 3 times into the chain space. Now chain 3 again and slip stitch to attach the petal into the same chain space. And your first petal is formed. Now this is a good place to mention that if you want a smaller flower, if you change the stitches in your petal to double crochet or even half double crochet, then those petals will be smaller, creating a smaller flower. For that matter, you could even have half double crochets in your flower center. Continue the pattern repeat for the remaining petals. Slip stitch into the next chain space. Chain 3, 3 treble crochet, followed by a chain 3 and slip stitch to attach the petal. Repeat this until you have 6 total petals and slip stitch to join into the first petal. All 6 petals are complete. In fact, this is a complete flower as is. You could slip stitch and clip the yarn, and this is a beautiful flower just like this. I'm also changing color yarn here, so I am going to chain 1, pull up a loop, and clip my yarn. But you could continue the next step to add the picot stitches with the same color yarn. As shown here, a color change is not absolutely necessary. My first choice was to come in with this golden yellow as my accent color on the petals, but I've changed my mind. I'm considering red, but no, I think I'll go with white. If you're changing color yarn for the picot stitches, begin with a slip knot on your hook. Insert the hook in the same stitch that you started the petal base in. Slip stitch into that same single crochet that started your petal base. Slip stitch to join your new color. Into that chain that is your first stitch in your petal, insert the hook and gently slip stitch. I say gently, meaning make sure it's not too tight. Slip stitch into the next chain and slip stitch into the back loop of the top of the first treble. And slip stitch into the back loop of the next treble. Single crochet back into that same back loop of that same stitch. It's a little bit tricky to pull through there, so I put my fingernail right on the edge of that stitch. And then chain 2, and this is your picot. And then go into those same 2 bars of the single crochet and pull through a loop and slip stitch. Your picot is complete. Slip stitch into the back loop of the next treble crochet, and now you're into your chain again. Slip stitch 2 or 3 more times depending on the stitch, and then slip stitch into that single crochet of your petal base stitch. And that is your pattern repeat all the way around these petals. And this is the way the petals look. Now let's review the pattern repeat one more time. After the slip stitch into your petal base single crochet, slip stitch into the chain that begins the petal. You'll have either 2 or 3 stitches depending on the size of the chain. Sometimes I had 3, sometimes I had 2. And then slip stitch into the back loop of the first 2 treble crochets. In that second treble, also single crochet. Chain 2 and slip stitch back into the 2 bars of the single crochet, and then slip stitch into the back loop of the last treble crochet, and slip stitch 2 or 3 times into your chain before slip stitching into the petal base stitch. Repeat that all the way around all of the petals and slip stitch to join at the first stitch. Now that I've gotten all the way around my flower with my picot stitches, I slip stitch into the back of where I added the color change, and then chain 1 and pull up a loop and cut my yarn. And that's how I crochet the 6-petal Pico flower. This is one of my all-time favorite flowers. The color combinations are endless, and there are numerous minor modifications that you can make to this flower in order to personalize it. We're nearing the end of this tutorial today, but I thoroughly enjoyed our time together, and if you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. It really helps me to grow my channel. And until I see you again, keep calm and crochet on.